Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk to you today about webinars and content marketing. More freelance medical writers need to understand the power of this form of visual marketing and how you can use it to engage your audience. So, why are webinars important? There was a survey in 2014, and I'll show you the results of that in the next slide, from B2B content marketing. And they found that 62% of marketers use webinars to deliver content marketing. And that's actually up from the previous year. It's the third most effective marketing tactic, not just for promoting your services, but it's very important for using content marketing for establishing yourself as a thought leader in your industry. Webinars are great for that. So this is the survey I was referring to. It's by B2B Content Marketing Benchmark Budgets and Trends. And they looked at various aspects of content marketing, ranging from social media that's other than blogs to articles, newsletters, blogs, videos, and all the way down to games. And they found that 62% of marketers in 2014 were using webinars for content marketing. And that's up, as I mentioned before, from the previous year. I anticipate that this number is going to continue to grow as webinars can be very effectively repurposed, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we know that webinars are very powerful in terms of engaging and reaching out to a geographically dispersed audience, but they're also very convenient and very cost effective and can be made available on demand. That's only one way to repurpose a webinar. But there are multiple ways to repurpose a webinar, especially using social media, and I'm going to get into that as well. So a couple things to think about when you are doing webinars. I like to keep these three components in mind, is that you cannot actually just take an oral didactic presentation and translate it into a webinar. It's not as simple as that. You need to take into account that webinars are a different platform than an oral presentation, so they present unique challenges and actually opportunities. So I like to think about the explaining, engaging, and interacting with your audience when you're doing a webinar, because keep in mind the only thing that the audience has when you're doing an online presentation is usually to engage them is your voice. So you want to look at how you can utilize that. So in the explanation part, you want to explain to your audience how the webinar will work, maybe some of the technology, how they can ask questions, and use that time also to provide some structure to your presentation. It's very important to engage your audience when you're doing webinars. So you want to use Q&A, you want to use polls, even webinar specific Twitter hashtags are great for engaging your audience. You should also provide some kind of content download. And you should continue to interact with your audience using social media. You can use your Twitter hashtag to engage with your audience before. And if your webinar is pre-recorded, then you can also use the Twitter hashtag to engage with your audience during the webinar. You can establish a LinkedIn private group to continue to engage with your audience. As I mentioned before, webinars are great for repurposing. Traditionally, they're just made enduring and on demand, but you can actually take up the webinar and break it up into different components. So you can take the video and repurpose it and use it on YouTube. You can take the audio and repurpose it and use it as a podcast. You can take the slides and share them on SlideShare and then link them into your LinkedIn profile. So that's another way of repurposing your webinar. We're going to be talking about webinars and Twitter and LinkedIn at the AMWA 2015 annual conference. Both Jen and I will be presenting at OS 21, which is on Friday, October 2nd from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We hope you guys can make it. There are different components of webinars that you need to take into account when you are doing a webinar, from the design to the follow-up. So you need to take into account how you're designing your webinar. You need to take into account your webinar presentation skills and learn how to hone in on those and to polish those up. You need to learn technology. You need to learn how to engage, interact with your audience. And you also need to learn how to use that as part of the interactivity for the webinar. You need to learn how to promote your webinar and also how to follow up with your audience. These are all components that I will be discussing at OS 39, which is on Saturday, October 3rd from 4 to 5 p.m. again at the AMWA 2015 annual conference. I hope you can join me for that presentation. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Freelance Med Writers, for more information on everything about freelance medical writing and social media. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you.